talk about ransomware. So this is the definition. Ransomware is a malicious code that covertly installed on the system and then launches a cryptovirology on board already attack. I'm going to put it down into a really user-friendly nutshell for you. Ransomware is a malware attack on your system that by and large tricks you into running a piece of code that then encrypts all of your files, the files that are important to you. So your pictures, your Word documents, your Excel documents, your PowerPoint presentations, any databases you might have. It encrypts it with a certain type of encryption. It could be anywhere from an AES 256 encryption to an RSA 1024 encryption. The point is, they encrypt your files, and then they send you a lovely message saying, hey, we've just encrypted all your files, so you can't use them anymore, but if you pay us, we'll gladly unlock your files for you. And to make this a little real world, I'm not going to name names, but one of my clients here in Sussex County, about a week ago, sent me a 911 emergency text with this picture attached to it. And it says, all your documents, photo databases, all this type of media I just mentioned, have been encrypted with a powerful RSA 1024 encryption. If you want to decrypt it, pay 0.439 in Bitcoin to us, and we will happily decrypt your files. Now, 0.4396 off the top of my head is probably somewhere around $250, $260. Now, here's the part that really starts to get on this. They then tell you how to pay them in Bitcoin, because who here knows how to pay in Bitcoin? Who here, show of hands, who here knows what Bitcoin is? Okay. So about half the room, right? So it's not something you're readily going to understand or readily know, but this is how they want to be paid, and I'm going to talk more about that in a second. But after they tell you how to pay, they tell you, if you do not pay in 3 days, you're going to lose all of your files. This is my favorite line of this message. Very honest. No one can help you except us. It's useless to reinstall Windows, and your files can be decrypted only after you pay us. So my client sent this text to me. I went over there. Luckily for them, this is the .cryptid variant. And you're going to notice when I talk about malware, it's going to sound like, and Marie, you work in a medical office, I'm going to talk about strains and variants, right? So this is a very well-known variant, and there actually is a decryptor available online. So the black hat guys went and created these malwares. The white hat guys create decryptors to try to fight them. It's kind of a battle back and forth. My customer was lucky because I was able to decrypt the files, but that only works about half of the time. So we're going to talk about how you get around that, how you defend against that. So phishing attacks, which is the primary way that ransomware gets onto your machine. Phishing attacks are where criminals trick the users into clicking a well-disguised link for what appears to be a legitimate type of email. I can tell you that my client, this is the story. If you'll indulge me for a second, sometimes I go off the track a little bit, but I promise I come back. They got a phone call from FedEx around 9 o'clock in the morning. And that phone call was the driver saying, I don't know where your building is, I can't find it, I have the address, but I cannot find the building. So the manager said, here's the building. And it's one of those businesses here in Sussex County, it's kind of tucked away in the back of something else. So that was a legitimate phone call. That really was FedEx. And then within the hour, my client received a phishing email that purported itself to be from FedEx. And it said, concerning your FedEx package. And when they opened the email, it said, concerning your FedEx package, for details, please click on the attachment. The attachment was a .zip file. Well, it looked like a .zip file. It wasn't a .zip file. What it really was, is it was a cryptovirology attack that then went and encrypted all their files. So, other ways, links to phony ads on questionable websites. So, if you're ever, out on some website that may appear a little dangerous to you, you get that feeling that you're getting away with something and you click on something. Maybe it's free music, maybe it's free movies. You're not getting away with anything because you may be getting a cryptovirology attack. Pay per installs where a system's already in control of a botnet. And what that means is that a system has been compromised. So you could go to my website, kdcomputing.com. It could have been compromised with a botnet, and that botnet's instruction could be to load this malware on anybody that visits my site. Drive-by downloads are pretty much the same thing, except instead of being a botnet, somebody's directly targeted the site and changed the code on the site to deliver the malware. But the most prevalent way to get a ransomware attack is the phishing scam, where you get an email, you click on the link. So how do you know if you've been infected? Well, this is a tough one because you really don't know. And let's go back for a second. You really don't know until you get something like this. Most ransomware attacks are what are called zero-day attacks. And what a zero-day attack is, simply put, it's malware that the antivirus companies have yet to identify. So they haven't been able to create any type of defense for it. So your computer hasn't been downloaded when you do your updates for your antivirus. Your computer doesn't know it's malware because it has no indication that it's malware. And that's not to say that even if there is an update, you won't get it. There are plenty of people who don't regularly update their antivirus, and because they don't regularly update their antivirus, they're susceptible to all sorts of attacks that are probably known and they never should get, but they get them anyway. So that's how you know if you've gotten ransomware. For the most part, you know it after your files have been locked. You know it after it's too late to do anything about it. Zero-day attack. So the next question is, okay, I've gotten this message, Mike. It says I should pay them $260. You said it's a 50-50 chance that we can decrypt the files versus not decrypt the files. I don't have good backups. I don't have a good disaster recovery plan. I need to keep my business running. What do I do? Should I pay the ransom? Well, the FBI says don't ever pay the ransom. Don't pay the ransom because, well, let me go to this. Let's look down here first. Don't pay the ransom. And the reason you shouldn't pay the ransom is because it's in the next slide. That's why I'm hesitating for a second. So I'll just cover it here and skip it there. Remember, folks, these are criminals. This isn't your friendly next door neighbor who's going to help you out with something, or a guy you've known for 20 years, or a woman you've done business with for 15 years. These are criminals that have exploited your system for their personal profit. So if you pay them, you really don't have any kind of guarantee that if they say they're going to decrypt your files, they're actually going to decrypt your files. And even if they do decrypt your files, you don't know what else they've done in the background on your system. They could have left a nice little Easter egg there to exploit you later in the future. And if you pay them, well, face it, con artists go after easy marks. So if you pay a con artist, the likelihood is they're going to come back again because they know they've got a live one who will pay. The FBI stated that there's a movement to make paying ransom illegal. I think that'll be a non-starter. Right now it is not illegal, so if you have to make, this goes to the third bullet, so if you have to make a personal choice or a business choice to pay the ransom and you roll the dice, that's really up to you. What I'm telling you is, if you pay the ransom, and if you're lucky enough to have your files decrypted, don't trust your system anymore. And we're going to talk about trusted systems and non-trusted systems in a moment. Ransomware is a business. Surprisingly, the criminals most often do decrypt your files. That's not really the worry. The worry is what they leave behind on your PC after they're done decrypting your files. Again, keep in mind the criminals not to be trusted. If they know a mark, they're going to come back. And here's where we're going to talk about trusted systems. Once the system's been compromised, you can't trust it anymore. So even if you do get your files back, I'm going to pick on Maria over here in the front row. Maria gets this and she pays the $250. All her files are decrypted. And she asked me about it. I'm going to say, great, Maria. Immediately take those files that were decrypted, and only those files, move them to a portable drive, a USB drive, whatever, thumb drive, and then go get your Windows CDs from Dell, format your hard drive, and reload everything from scratch. Because there could be hidden malware still in your system that you don't know about waiting to bite. So I asked before, what's Bitcoin? About 50% of everybody in the room raise their hand. Indulge me for the other 50%. Bitcoin is digital currency which uses cryptography to generate value. It's like cash. It's almost untraceable. Ransomware pirates prefer Bitcoin because it is almost untraceable. It's fast, it's verifiable, and it's reliable. So it's, digitally speaking, it's the same as if I took a dollar bill out of my pocket right now and handed it to Robert. He accepts it. He can verify by look and feel that it's a dollar bill. Same thing with Bitcoin. Once the transaction's done, you know you've got the cash. Right? Unlike things like PayPal. If I PayPal Maria tomorrow $10, I can go back and pull that $10 back. I can't do that with Bitcoin. Once I commit to sending the Bitcoin, it's sent. It's in Maria's account. But like cash, I can't verify where it really went to because Maria has a cryptographic key that says I'm Maria, that I can't read, I don't know it's Maria. I have a cryptographic key that says I'm Mike. Maria can't read that it's Mike. Hey, come on in.
Hey, Mike.
Have a
Sorry
seat,
about
Mike.
that, guys.
Everybody,
Excuse me.
Mike Darby strolling in late. Everybody's scorned him later. So, blaming Bitcoin. Some people do this. Oh, if it weren't for Bitcoin, there'd be no ransomware. Well, blaming Bitcoin for ransomware is like blaming cash for marijuana sales. They just don't go together, right? If I want to buy marijuana and I don't want to be traced, I'm going to use cash. If I want to pay a ransomware pirate who could be in Bangladesh, who could be in Russia, who could be in Phoenix, who could be in Bangalore, who could be anywhere on this planet, I'm going to use Bitcoin because that's what they want. It's digital cash. It's virtually untraceable. So here's the line. This is my favorite thing in the world. Ransomware pirates have, and they're so nice, these guys, they're wonderful. They've actually set up customer support centers. So if you get your files encrypted and they're demanding a ransom and you don't know how to pay in Bitcoin, they will actually give you an 800 number to call, and one of their customer service representatives will sit on the phone with you and will talk you through paying their ransom. Isn't that lovely? That's great. Next time I get mugged in New York, the guy's going to hand me a customer service card and a survey asking me how my mugging was.
You don't have to press 1 for English.
You don't have to. So what happens if I pay the ransom? Well, if you're lucky, the pirates are going to give you a decryption key. You enter the decryption key, you get your files back. I said this before, I'll say it again. If you get those files back, immediately move them off of your computer. Don't leave them there. Put them on a thumb drive, put them on a USB drive, and only the files you've decrypted, right? Don't do a wholesale copy of your hard drive. So just your .docs, just your .excel, just your .powerpoint, just your .jpegs, MP4s. Only those, move them off immediately, and reload your system from scratch. That's the only way that you can be sure that you haven't been left with the remnants of malware that's going to come back and attack you again at a later date. Because further infections could be left on the system. Yeah, please.
Can't the 800 number be checked out?
So that's a great question. I'll spend 1 minute on that, maybe less, but they can. In this day of digital phone numbers and assignment of phone numbers, that phone number might only be alive and registered to something for a day or two. And then they will ditch that phone number, and then they'll assign another phone number, and then they'll ditch that phone number and assign another phone number. So it's very hard for the police or for other law enforcement to try to keep up on that. What I will say is today, here's one for the good guys. Today, some 15 ransomware pirates were arrested, both here in the US and in India. They were responsible for a $150 million scam over the past 4 years that targeted the elderly and new immigrants to the United States. So noted cases, and why, and we go back to why it affects healthcare. So the noted cases for 2016 so far: Union Memorial in Maryland, their primary care system with their electronic medical records on it was hit. Their electronic medical records database was locked up and encrypted. They did not have a good backup, which almost sounds foreign to those of us that are in IT and in security, but it happens. So they did pay $18,000 and they got their files back, but they then went and did what I told all of you fine folks to do, which is reload your system from scratch. Kansas Heart Hospital paid the fines. They didn't get anything back. The ransomware pirates took the money, gave them a nice gesture, and left. Kansas Heart Hospital did not disclose the amount they paid. The rumors in the community are it was somewhere upwards of $20,000. So it becomes lucrative. What kicked this off was back in the beginning of 2016, February, March timeframe, Hollywood Presbyterian Hospital, a lot of you probably read about this, it was in the papers, very sensationalized. Same thing, their EMR database was targeted, encrypted, and Hollywood Presbyterian had to pay $17,000 to get their data back. It was misreported originally because the reporter who did for the AP, who did the first story on Presbyterian, didn't know how to calculate Bitcoin. So the first numbers out there was $300,000, but then when somebody looked at the Bitcoin again and recalculated it, it was $17,000. But $17,000 is a lot. How do I prevent ransomware? Okay, as of tonight, if anyone in this room calls me and tells me you've been compromised with ransomware, first I'm going to laugh, and then I'm going to help you. But how do I prevent it? Well, the first step is education, right? Train your end users. Have that healthy amount of respect and caution for what you're doing online. If you see an email from someone, so let's go back to my customer that got hit with the ransomware. I'm going to tell you, after I got their files back for them, I sat down with the manager of this business and I said, you must have gotten an email. I didn't get any email. I said, really? Do you mind if I look for a minute? And they said, no, Mike, you look, I didn't get any email. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds later, I'm sitting there, I said, what's this email from FedEx? They said, well, their driver called, couldn't find the place, told them where it was, and then I got this email from FedEx, so I had to look at it because it was about my shipment. It wasn't about their shipment. And I said to this person, okay, let's look at this email now, and let's make this a teachable moment. And I showed the manager how to look at the email header. And when we open the email header, which if you're doing Gmail or Yahoo Mail, anything with an online browser, means just hover your mouse over the email address, and it will display the real email address that it's coming from, no matter what that from line says. So they use Gmail, we hovered over it. If you're in Outlook, you can right-click it and say, show me the header information. And the email address that it came from, it said, this is from FedEx, right? And when we looked at the email address that it really came from, it came from clive@zonateens.net.
Sounds trustworthy.
Ed, if you think so, that's great. So, what I want you to start doing is start using a little bit of healthy distrust when you're online. So if you get an email and it's got an attachment to it that says, here is the bill you requested from me, here is the shipping information, start hovering over those and look to see who it's really from, because you're going to find that in most cases, it's not from a reputable source. Now, I'm going to give a shameless plug for Gsweet for Google, because I love Google. It used to be called Google Apps, then it was Google Works, now it's Gsweet. I power my backend, KB Computing's backend on Gsweet. I don't see these because they all go into my junk mail folder. They do a really great job of filtering that stuff out. My client doesn't use Gsweet, they use something else, right? So just start getting used to looking for that kind of thing. And if you see it, just delete it. The next way to really prevent ransomware is to have a really great disaster recovery and backup plan. And I don't care if you're a one-person accounting office or a 50-person electrical supply house. I have customers in that range, right? You need a good backup plan and disaster recovery plan. You don't need anything, if you're that one person, you don't need something that's really complex. You don't need a written disaster recovery plan, but you do need a good backup plan so that if you get hit with malware like this, I'm going to pick on somebody in the room. I know Jim Source has a good backup plan. So if Jim Source got hit tomorrow with ransomware, I wouldn't even try to decrypt anything. I would go in and say, okay, Jim, well, we're just going to blow this system away and we'll load back to yesterday's backup and restore the files. If you have that, you're really gold, okay? Make sure that you have a really good backup and disaster recovery plan. I'm not going to go into what an overall disaster recovery plan is, but suffice it to say that that would be your means and your roadmap to getting your business back online after a catastrophe, and ransomware is a catastrophe. So make sure you have good, strong, and up-to-date antivirus. I alluded to this before, that if you have antivirus, but you've turned off the automatic updates, that zero-day attack that may have been a zero-day attack on Monday, on Wednesday it may not be a zero-day attack anymore. The antivirus may now know the signature for it, but if you haven't updated between Monday and Wednesday, you can still get hit because your system doesn't know about it. So good, strong antivirus. Never, for those of you that have servers, that have businesses here and have a server in your office, never, ever allow your server to be used as a workstation. I have actually left clients because they refused to do that. I had one client, I had to part ways with them because they had a server that they insisted on using as a workstation, and therefore leaving it open to way too much risk. I had to part ways. They wouldn't listen to good advice. And never ever allow unauthorized personnel on your computer or on your network. So, and what I mean by that, for those of you that are home users, even business users, if you don't know the person coming into your office, and they say, hey, can I borrow your computer for a second? The answer is no. Show of hands. Who has all of their kids' pictures on their computer, or grandchildren's pictures? Okay. Who has video that you've taken of your family or events on your computer, right? Who has, and I'm going to put it like this, who has information that if it got off your computer and out into the wild, out into the public, you would turn bright red because you'd be a little embarrassed because it's on your computer? You don't have to raise your hands for that one, okay? But the truth is, your computer, your phone, your tablet, it's a very personal device, okay? Just like I wouldn't allow anyone in this room to start reading my journal, with the exception of my wife, Maribeth, I won't let any of you sit down at my computer because there's very personal things on there, and I have to make sure that remains a trusted system, something that I can rely on.